House of Representatives Town Hall. Federal government promises 30% youth quota. Lawmakers tackle calls for shake-up in oil sector leadership. New national minimum wage bill gets presidential assent. Hello and thank you for joining us on You and Your Reps. I am Victor, as welcome. The federal government says it will soon initiate a bill to ensure that the Nigerian youth get 30% quota in government positions. Minister of Youth Development Jamila Bio Ibrahim disclosed this at a town hall meeting organized by the House of Representatives with youth groups towards addressing challenges confronting the nation's youth population.
My message to you today is that your voice matters.
Speaker Tajuddin Abbas setting the tone for the town hall meeting.
You have elected us to serve you and must trust us to do the job together. I commit to taking the resolutions of this town hall to President Tinubu along with representatives of the youth organizations. Together, we will ensure that your concerns are addressed and that we build a Nigeria. Your voices matter and we are listening.
Cabinet ministers harp on the need for constructive dialogue and not protest, just as they reveal steps the government is taking to keep the youth at the center of the renewed hope agenda.
Advancing from the Not Too Young to Run Act, we're advocating for a 30% youth quota in government positions, a policy endorsed by the Federal Executive Council. This initiative aims to ensure that young Nigerians have a substantial role in decision-making processes. We're working with the National Assembly to legislate this quota into an act of parliament.
Those people who prefer to work as skills people are the ones we are now giving the opportunity under super skill up artisans. Be you a mechanic, a plumber, tiler, carpenter, whatever you are. When you finish training, and the training is free, we are going to train 20 million of you. We already started the registration, and the training have already begun.
That's why we're expanding primary healthcare. More than 8,800 of them reached. More than 2 million Nigerians in the last 1 year access healthcare through the Vulnerable Groups Fund, in addition to the others who are insured.
And that's why I'm also happy the Honorable Minister of Youth and our brother is here, helping to now launch the Nigerian Youth Investment Fund that will put money into the hand of young entrepreneurs so that they can run their own business.
Later, at plenary, the House passed a resolution urging the federal government to enhance the capacity of the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, for swift responses to national emergencies.
Review and increasing the budget of the provision of National Emergency Management Agency, liaise with the Budget Office of the Federation and take necessary measures to ensure adequate funding is provided in the agency in the 2025 budget.
The House referred the motion to its committees on appropriation and NEMA for further legislative action.
Elsewhere, a group of 50 members of the House of Representatives have described as premature calls for the removal of the Group Chief Executive Officers of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, Mele Kyari, and the Nigeria Midstream Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, Farouk Ahmed. The lawmakers, under the aegis of concerned members of the 10th Assembly, emphasized that probe of the oil and gas sector by the Joint House Committee on Midstream and Downstream Petroleum is ongoing, and a final decision was yet to be reached.
Our attention has been drawn to some media report calling for the removal of Group Chief Executive Officer of the NNPCL and the Chief Executive Officer of NMDPRA, while the above investigation is still subsisting. We wish to state that it is in the parliamentary culture to afford parties in investigation the right for fair hearing.
They also expressed concern about the ongoing protests in the country and appealed for an end to the protests.
We therefore call on all Nigerians to be patient and law-abiding in the expectation of a better Nigeria.
Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has signed the new national minimum wage bill into law. Briefing State House correspondents after the signing, leadership of the National Assembly expressed optimism that the new minimum wage bill will impact the whole country positively. President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, says the new law is binding on the federal government, the states, local governments, the private sector, and even individual employers.
So I think this is a great day for the workers in the country. We are not only doubling the minimum wage, we have added something on top. Initially it was 30,000, now it is 70,000. Like I said, this is minimum. This is not maximum. Any employer that has a capacity can pay as much as you want, but no Nigerian worker will offer services and be paid anything less than 70,000 from today. That is the implication of this act. It applies all over the nation. And we're excited that this is happening at a time like this, through President Bola Tinubu, a man who cares for the Nigerian workers. And you've seen what we are doing in the National Assembly. When he came, the entirety of the National Assembly moved and passed the bill in one day out of excitement. We felt that this was not something we could delay. So I think the workers are happy. So I want to use this opportunity to call on those who are attempting to foment trouble, that you have a right to protest. It's your fundamental right. It is there in the Constitution, but you don't have a right to destabilize the country. A right to protest should not be turned into a right to unleash violence.
This is just one more action from the president to show that he cares about the Nigerian people. In addition to signing the Northwest Development Commission Act, the Southeast Development Commission Act, this has never happened in Nigeria. So I think this movement from 30 to 70 and reducing the negotiation years is clear demonstration of a commitment to redirect, refocus, and reposition Nigeria for greatness.
And the signing into law of the Southeast Development Commission bill has continued to receive plaudits. This time, Chair of the Southeast Caucus of the House of Representatives, Igbos Igariwey, says the commission will accelerate development in the region.
I think I should start by thanking Mr. President for assenting to that bill. The bill has had a long journey. I got here in the 8th Assembly, and I know it came up in the 8th Assembly. It also came up in the 9th Assembly. That bill was not assented to. In fact, it didn't make much progress. Then in this 10th Assembly, we brought it up again, and then Mr. President has signed it into law. So I think we should be, first and foremost, very grateful to Mr. President for assenting to that bill. I think that bill embodies the entire aspiration of the people of the Southeast, especially after the Civil War, the unfortunate Civil War, when the three issues of rehabilitation, reconstruction, and resettlement came up. For a very long time, more than 40 years after the war, those three concepts have sounded hollow in terms of implementation. I'm not trying to say that we haven't come very far. We have. All the previous regimes have tried a lot in trying to bring development to the Southeast, but I think for the very first time, embodied in this bill is that spirit, the true spirit of resettlement, reconstruction, and rehabilitation of the Southeast. So it speaks to a very deliberate attempt to create a special vehicle, a special purpose vehicle for inclusive development of the Southeast. That's the way I see it. If you go to the Southeast, you still see a lot of things that remind you of that unfortunate past. You still see a lot of dilapidation in terms of infrastructure, in terms of roads, in terms of challenges, environmental challenges in the Southeast. You talk of erosion in virtually every state in the Southeast, and generally infrastructural deficit. So we want to believe that if you create this deliberate effort, that it will go a long way in confronting some of these challenges. I was lucky in the 8th Assembly. I was part of the Northeast Development Commission Bill. Our chairman then was Honorable Sani Zoro. And I think it was still this idea of deliberately targeting a part of this country in terms of developing that part that gave birth to the Northeast Development Commission Bill. So I think it didn't happen in the past. It has happened now. It is still very, very important that it has happened. And I'm also happy that the Northwest is also benefiting from it. Having thanked Mr. President, allow me also to thank the members of the entire Southeast Caucus. If you know the National Assembly, you know that for a bill to pass, it requires collective effort. So I also have to thank other members of the National Assembly from the various caucuses. If a particular caucus like the North Central or Northwest or Northeast or Southwest or South caucus said no to the bill, it wouldn't be a bill that eventually became law. And also, you know, we run a bicameral parliament. So you also have to thank the Senate for collaborating in making it what it eventually became, which is an act of parliament. Without their concurrence to that bill, there's no way it would have succeeded. But also, very importantly, is to thank the Speaker of the House of Representatives. This bill had come before other speakers, and it never became what it became. So we have to thank Speaker Abbas. We also have to thank the Chairman of the National Assembly, who is the Senate President, for allowing it to see the light of the day, as we often say in Parliament. So we want to thank the entire Southeast Caucus. Would like to thank every parliamentarian and Mr. President for seeing that this bill becomes a law that we hope will be implemented for the good of the Southeast. From the word go, the proper and knowledgeable people will be selected to populate that commission so that they are clearly focused on the mandate of the commission. The moment that is done, and mind you, times change. NDDC came at a time. They still need to come out from that time when they came. Now you have a whole lot of civil society organizations looking at the day-to-day activities of government. You see Parliament also, because the commission is also going to be, since they will benefit from public funds, they will also have the concurrent oversight, to see that they apply funds the proper way. So it will be a combination of so many factors: the right individuals who will understand, first and foremost, the purpose of the commission, what it is supposed, its core mandate, and then secondly, government doing its own bit in terms of release of funds and then supervision of how those funds are applied. So I think the moment we get that balance correctly, then we should be good to go. But I want to believe that the issue of infrastructure is at the core of the challenges in the Southeast. Like I said, in my community, for instance, there are still buildings that were bombed out during the Civil War that are still in that shape. Primary schools where people took shelter, markets where people used to do business that still are the way they were since 1970, when people returned back to their various places. So we expect that the Commission will do a comprehensive and very detailed compilation of what the challenges in the Southeast are. The Southeast is not as geographically large as most parts this country. Like the Southeast, I know, is probably much smaller than the Northeast or Northwest. So it's not a place that will be difficult for us to articulate what our problems are or to make an improvement on existing challenges. So I want to believe that if we get the right caliber of people to drive the commission, I think we will be able to achieve the goals of the commission.
Now, the term dissolution is thrown around pretty much in day-to-day engagements. But what does it mean in legislative context? We asked Chairman of the House Committee on Rules and Business, Francis Waive, to tell us.
First, the Legislative House is dissolved at the end of its tenure. It stands dissolved at the end of its tenure when it has its last plenary session, which in some cases is usually a valedictory session, where they talk about what they've done in the past year, give ourselves a pat on the back, you know. So, but that is not the only time the word dissolution is used. When an ad hoc committee, for instance, is put in place, when they've achieved their purpose or time frame, they either stand dissolved or are pronounced dissolved by Mr. Speaker or by resolution of the House. So they can no longer function in that sense. That is the term dissolution. It also can be even for a standing committee, where for whatever reason, Mr. Speaker feels that committee or the House in session feels that that committee is not performing and that committee is dissolved. So those are the instances where the term dissolution is used in legislative practice and is usually common in our polity.
This week on You and Your Reps, the committee segment focuses on one of the newly created committees of the 10th House, and so we engaged with Deputy Chair of the House Committee on Public Assets to make sense of its workings and progress so far.
Our mandate under the standing order of the House is to monitor the process of management, disposal of public assets, both movable and unmovable assets of the government, and also shares of government in different entities, either government entities or private entities. It's a serious tax with a lot of challenges. You know, when you set up a critical committee of this nature that will look into what government has as in terms of asset, in terms of investment, and so on, then you see a lot of challenges from different entities. Some, they don't want the government to have a portfolio, that is to say, a complete record or register of government-owned assets, domestically and outside the country. So it's a lot of challenges here and there. We ask questions. Before we get answers, it takes a lot of time because people don't want to, even government officials, some of the government officials, they don't want to dish out the answers so that the general public will see what government is having, what government is doing in terms of general assets.
And what have you found?
We found a lot. Some critical government assets were converted by individuals, either in government before, some in government, and so on. And we said, no, these assets are to be under the purview of the government. These are government assets, and we have to bring them back. In terms of investment, share capitals and so on in different companies, be it LNG, that's in NNPC and so on, in the power sector, the discos where government have share capital or part of the business. We discovered that a lot of things in terms of shortchanging what the government is supposed to recoup as income after investment. They have not been remitting to the government account a lot of things, and when they are asked or pushed to do that, instead of remitting 100%, you see them remitting part of it, maybe 10% or 5% to the government, which is not fair to us and to Nigerians. So these are some of the challenges we're facing, and lack of compliance by most especially government agencies. Once they have been appointed as head of government agencies to spearhead the affairs of that agency, the next thing they are thinking of is how we can make money, how we can, change the government and enrich ourselves. This is one of the critical problems we're facing, and it has been a lot of, difficult tasks to us, but we are determined and we're going after them, and we'll make sure that all assets that are that belongs to the government will have a proper register, proper use of it, and Nigerians will see the outcome at the end of the day.
Well, I guess this is yet another one to keep tabs on, and we sure will. Well, that's the program. Well, thank you very much for watching. I am Victor, and I'll see you next time.